Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into the history and value of the Washington quarter dollar. Whether you're a coin collector or just curious about what makes these coins so special, you're in the right place. We're counting down the top 4 most valuable Washington quarters that could be hiding in your change jar or collection. 1996 Washington quarter. Now let's fast forward to 1996. This was a significant year for the Washington quarter. It was one of the last years before the state quarters program began in 1999, which changed the reverse design for each state. But in 1996, we were still seeing the classic eagle on the reverse. So what makes the 1996 Washington quarter stand out? On the obverse or front of the coin, you'll see John Flanagan's portrait of George Washington with the words "Liberty" above his head, "In God We Trust" to the left, and the year 1996 at the bottom. On the reverse or back is the classic eagle design, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches underneath. Around the top, you'll see United States of America, and just below, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one. And of course, the word quarter dollar sits at the bottom. Let's talk about mint marks. In 1996, Washington quarters were minted in 3 different locations. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. San Francisco, S mint mark for proof coins. Keep in mind, if you find a quarter without a mint mark, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. Proof coins from San Francisco, on the other hand, were struck with more precision and are often found in coin sets, not in circulation. Now on to the composition. By 1996, the U.S. Mint had long since stopped making quarters from silver. Instead, the standard circulation coins like the Washington quarter were made from a copper nickel-clad composition. The exact breakdown is 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. Each quarter weighs 5.67 grams and has a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. While these coins aren't made of silver, certain special proof versions released from the San Francisco Mint might have silver content, but not for the standard circulation coins of 1996. All right, now the part you've all been waiting for, the value. The worth of a 1996 Washington quarter largely depends on its condition and where it was minted. Circulated coins from Philadelphia and Denver are generally worth face value just 25 cents unless they're in exceptional condition. However, uncirculated coins or those with an MS Mint state grading of 65 or higher can be worth around $5 to $10. If you have a quarter in pristine, near perfect condition, it might be worth even more. For proof coins from San Francisco, which were never intended for circulation, these can be valued between $5 and $15 depending on their condition and whether they're made of standard or silver-proof material. One thing to always keep an eye out for is error coins. In some cases, coins can be struck with mistakes that make them highly sought after by collectors. For the 1996 Washington quarter, known errors include off-center strikes, double dies, and clip planchets. If you find one of these errors, the value can jump to hundreds of dollars, depending on the type of error and condition of the coin. 1986 Washington quarter. The Washington quarter first debuted in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. This design was meant to be temporary, but it became so popular that the U.S. Mint decided to keep it. From 1932 onward, the Washington quarter became a staple of American currency. The 1986 Washington quarter is part of this long-running series, and while it's not a special anniversary year, it still has an interesting place in U.S. minting history. 1986 marks the midpoint of a decade when the U.S. Mint was producing coins in large numbers, yet silver had been completely phased out of circulating coins by this time. The 1986 Washington quarter is made of a copper nickel-clad composition, meaning the core is copper, while the outer layer is a blend of copper and nickel. This composition was introduced in 1965, replacing the 90% silver quarters of earlier years. So sadly, no silver in this one. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar profile of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. His design has graced the front of the quarter since 1932, with only minor adjustments over the years. On the reverse, the classic bald eagle clutching a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath it symbolizes peace and strength. This design remained unchanged from 1932 until 1998, when the state quarter program began. Now let's talk about mint marks. The mint mark on a Washington quarter can be found on the obverse side, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. For the 1986 quarter, there are 3 possible mint marks. No mint mark produced at the Philadelphia Mint. D produced at the Denver Mint. S proof coins produced at the San Francisco Mint. In 1986, the U.S. Mint produced 551,483,493 quarters at the Philadelphia Mint, 504,298,660 at the Denver Mint, and 3,922,559 proof quarters at the San Francisco Mint. As you can see, this wasn't a rare year for quarters at the St. Bows. So how much is a 1986 Washington quarter worth today? Well, it depends on the condition and mint mark. Here's a quick breakdown. Circulated coins, those you find in pocket change, typically have a value of 25 to 50 cents. These are the most common and don't have much additional value unless they're in exceptional condition. Uncirculated coins, or those with no wear, can fetch around $1 to $5 depending on how flawless the coin is. Proof coins from San Francisco, especially in perfect condition, can be worth between $5 and $10 and sometimes more if certified by a professional grading service. Of course, if you come across a coin that's in particularly high mint state graded MS67 or higher, its value could jump significantly. Some have sold for over $100 at auction. 1965 Washington quarter. 1965 was a major turning point for U.S. coinage. Prior to that year, quarters were made of 90% silver. But due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint made a big change. They replaced silver with a copper-nickel clad composition. The 1965 quarter was the first to be struck with this new copper-nickel planchet, which means no more silver quarters for circulation. Why did this happen? Well, silver prices were climbing, and the cost to produce silver coins was becoming unsustainable. By shifting to a copper-nickel alloy, the government could continue minting coins without losing money. Now, let's talk about the coin itself. The 1965 Washington quarter features the same design as previous quarters, with George Washington on the obverse and the bald eagle on the reverse. Designed by John Flanagan, this iconic image of Washington has been used on the quarter since 1932. However, while the design stayed the same, the coin's composition changed. Instead of the earlier 90% silver and 10% copper mix, the 1965 quarter is made of a copper core, sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy. This change gives the 1965 quarter its distinctive clad appearance, especially noticeable when you look at the edge. The thin layer of copper is visible, unlike the solid silver edge of pre-1965 quarters. So what is a 1965 Washington quarter worth today? For most circulated 1965 quarters, their value is tied closely to their face value, 25 cents. This is because they lack silver content and are fairly common, with over 1.8 billion coins minted that year. However, there are some exceptions. High-grade specimens quarters in pristine, uncirculated condition can fetch a premium. Coins graded MS65 or higher can sell for $10 to $50 or more, depending on their condition. Error coins, some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets left over from 1964. These rare error coins can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. If you think you might have one of these, check the weight. A standard 1965 quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but a silver quarter will weigh about 6.25 grams. Be sure to look for any unusual errors like off-center strikes or double dies, which can also increase a coin's values. Here's how you can tell if your 1965 quarter is valuable. Check the weight as mentioned earlier. A silver error quarter will weigh slightly more than a regular 1965 quarter. Look at the condition. A higher grade quarter without scratches, dings, or wear will be worth more, especially if it's in mint condition. Search for errors. Any unusual errors, such as missing details, off-center strikes, or double die errors could add significant value. Mint marks? Not in 1965, you'll notice that there are no mint marks on 1965 quarters. This is because the U.S. Mint suspended the use of mint marks from 1965 to 1967 to discourage hoarding. Did you know there was a coin shortage in the early 1960s? The rising demand for coins and the growing value of silver caused a scarcity of circulating coins, which is one reason why the U.S. Mint moved away from silver. The 1965 quarter played a big role in solving this shortage. 1984 Washington quarter. Now, by the time we get to 1984, the Washington quarter had been around for over 50 years. It was a staple in American currency, though by this point, significant changes had already occurred in its composition. The 1984 Washington quarter features the iconic bust of George Washington on the obverse or head side, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. You'll notice the word Liberty above Washington's head in the year 1984 at the bottom. On the reverse side, we have the majestic bald eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows in its talons, symbolizing strength and protection. Below the eagle, you'll see olive branches representing peace. Now, let's talk about the composition. The Washington quarters minted after 1964 are no longer made of silver. Instead, the 1984 quarter is made from a copper-nickel clad composition, which is a core of pure copper sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy. The 1984 Washington quarter was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint mark can be found on the obverse side, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. No mint marked Philadelphia. Over 676 million quarters were minted. D mint marked Denver. Around 518 million quarters came from this mint. S mint mark. These were produced as proof coins intended for collectors, with around 3.2 million minted. Now, here's a fun fact. Quarters from Philadelphia during this era didn't have a mint mark, so if you see one without a letter, that's a Philly mint quarter. Now, for the part you've been waiting for, how much is the 1984 quarter worth today? Well, its value depends on a few factors, including its condition, mint mark, and rarity. Circulated condition. Most 1984 Washington quarters found in circulation are worth their face value minus 25 cents. Uncirculated condition, MS65 grade. If you have a 1984 quarter that's never been circulated and has no wear, it could be worth $5 to $15 depending on the mint mark and overall quality. Proof coins, proof quarters from 1984 with the S mint mark can range from $5 to $25 depending on their condition and whether they're cameo or deep cameo. Remember, the better the condition, the more valuable the coin. Like any coin, the 1984 quarter also has some notable error varieties that can make them much more valuable to collectors. Off-center strikes quarters that were struck off-center can be worth anywhere from $20 to $100 or more, depending on how extreme the error is. Double die errors, although rare for the 1984 quarter, if you happen to find one with a double die error, particularly on the obverse such as in Washington's profile or the lettering, it can fetch up to $100 or more. Clip planchets, a quarter that's missing part of the edge due to a planchet error, could also be worth $50 or more. The Lincoln wheat penny was first minted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse or front of the coin features the familiar portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse shows two wheat ears, hence the name wheat penny. Now, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny is a particularly interesting coin because it was minted during a tumultuous time in American history. World War I was in its final year, and the nation was going through significant changes socially and economically. Coins from this era, especially the Lincoln wheat penny, remind us of this pivotal time in history. The 1918 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here's how you can tell the difference if there's no mint mark on the coin. It was made in Philadelphia. If you see a D, it was minted in Denver, and an S means it came from San Francisco. In 1918, over 288 million pennies were struck, with the majority coming from Philadelphia, making it the most common of the 3. However, the pennies from Denver and San Francisco are less common and often more sought after by collectors. While 1918 Lincoln wheat pennies are relatively common, certain variations and errors can make them much more valuable. Keep an eye out for error coins such as die cracks. These are lines or fractures that appear on the coin's surface due to wear and tear on the die. Off-center strikes, when the coin is struck off-center, leaving part of the design cut off. Double dies. This error happens when the coin is struck twice, causing a noticeable doubling of the design, especially around the date or the lettering. Finding any of these errors on a 1918 wheat penny could increase its value significantly. So how much is a 1918 Lincoln wheat penny worth today? The value can range depending on its condition and mint mark. Here's a general breakdown. Good condition G4, if your 1918 penny is heavily worn, it's typically worth around $0.20 to $0.50. Fine condition F12 in better shape with clear details, but somewhere it can be valued between $1 and $2. Extremely fine XF40 in great condition with sharp details, the value can jump to around $5 to $10. Uncirculated MS60, a penny in mint condition with no wear, can be worth anywhere from $20 to $100 or more, depending on its mint mark and rarity. The most valuable 1918 pennies are those in uncirculated condition, especially from the Denver or San Francisco mints, with errors or doubling adding even more to their worth. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny is a fascinating piece of history and a great addition to any collection. Its value may not always break the bank, but with the right condition or an interesting error, you could have a real treasure in your hands. So next time you're sifting through your pocket change or old collections, keep an eye out for those wheat pennies. The Lincoln wheat penny was first minted in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse or front of the coin features the familiar portrait of Lincoln, while the reverse shows two wheat ears, hence the name wheat penny. Now, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny is a particularly interesting coin because it was minted during a tumultuous time in American history. World War I was in its final year, and the nation was going through significant changes socially and economically. Coins from this era, especially the Lincoln wheat penny, remind us of this pivotal time in history. The 1918 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Here's how you can tell the difference if there's no mint mark on the coin. It was made in Philadelphia. If you see a D, it was minted in Denver, and an S means it came from San Francisco. In 1918, over 288 million pennies were struck, with the majority coming from Philadelphia, making it the most common of the 3. However, the pennies from Denver and San Francisco are less common and often more sought after by collectors, while 1918 Lincoln wheat pennies are relatively common. Certain variations and errors can make them much more valuable. Keep an eye out for error coins such as die cracks. These are lines or fractures that appear on the coin's surface due to wear and tear on the die. Off-center strikes, when the coin is struck off-center, leaving part of the design cut off. Double dies. This error happens when the coin is struck twice, causing a noticeable doubling of the design, especially around the date or the lettering. Finding any of these errors on a 1918 wheat penny could increase its value significantly. So how much is a 1918 Lincoln wheat penny worth today? The value can range depending on its condition and mint mark. Here's a general breakdown. In good condition G4, if your 1918 penny is heavily worn, it's typically worth around $0.20 to $0.50. Fine condition F12 in better shape with clear details, but somewhere it can be valued between $1 and $2. Extremely fine XF40 in great condition with sharp details, the value can jump to around $5 to $10. Uncirculated MS60, a penny in mint condition with no wear, can be worth anywhere from $20 to $100 or more, depending on its mint mark and rarity. The most valuable 1918 pennies are those in uncirculated condition, especially from the Denver or San Francisco mints, with errors or doubling adding even more to their worth. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny is a fascinating piece of history and a great addition to any collection. Its value may not always break the bank, but with the right condition or an interesting error, you could have a real treasure in your hands. So, next time you're sifting through your pocket change or old collections, keep an eye out for those wheat pennies. 1949 S. Lincoln wheat penny. Let's zoom in on the year 1949. Post-war America was rebuilding and thriving, and coins minted during this period hold a special historical significance. The 1949 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The S mint mark, located beneath the date on our featured coin, indicates it was minted at the San Francisco Mint. That year, the San Francisco Mint produced 64,290,000 Lincoln wheat pennies. Let's compare the mintages for a moment. In Philadelphia, 217 million pennies were produced, and in Denver, 153 million were struck. The San Francisco mintage, at just over 64 million, was the smallest of the 3. While it's not incredibly rare, the 1949 S. Lincoln wheat penny is certainly less common than its counterparts, especially in higher grades. Now let's talk about the value of the 1949 S. wheat penny. As with most coins, the value is heavily dependent on the condition. In circulated grades, where you'll see some wear and tear, the value tends to be modest, ranging from 5 to 20 cents for average circulated examples. However, if you're lucky enough to find an uncirculated or mint state coin, the value increases significantly. For a 1949 S. penny in mint state, graded by professional grading services, you can expect values to jump. In grades like MS63 Red, these pennies can fetch between $3 to $5. As the grade goes up, so does the value. Higher grade coins such as MS65 Red can be worth $15 to $25. Coins graded MS67 Red or higher are rare and can command prices upwards of $200. So if you come across one in pristine condition, you've got yourself a valuable find. Now, what do we mean by red when we're talking about penny grading? This refers to the color and original mint luster of the coin. There are 3 main color designations for copper coins: red RD, red brown RB, and brown BN. A red penny retains most of its original color from when it was minted and will be more valuable than a red brown or brown penny of the same grade. What about errors and varieties? While the 1949 S. Lincoln wheat penny doesn't have any extremely famous errors like the 1955 double die, there are still some interesting things to look for. One variety to keep an eye out for is the RPM, or repunched mint mark. This occurs when the S mint mark was punched more than once into the die, leading to visible doubling on the mint mark. RPM varieties can add a premium to the value of your penny, so always check the mint mark carefully under magnification. Speaking of inspections, always use proper tools when evaluating your coins. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe is essential for spotting minor details that can significantly impact a coin's value. So, there you have it, the full scoop on the 1949 S. Lincoln wheat penny. From its historical context to its current value in the coin collecting world, this little piece of American history is certainly worth keeping an eye out for. Whether you're searching through old rolls of pennies or just exploring your pocket change, you never know what treasures you might find. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a coin update. Drop a comment below if you've ever come across a 1949 S penny, or let us know what coin you'd like to see us cover next.